Good evening. Welcome to MATT EQ4PEACE webinar. Today we have a wonderful speaker from USA. Mr. Matt Perston is based on EQ4PEACE and an emotional intelligence coach from California, USA. And he is running so many programs, particularly in emotional intelligence, not only in USA, in India, and different other countries. So on behalf of you all, I'm welcoming Matt. Matt, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. It's up late. I'll try and be be on today. So welcome everybody, and thank you for having me again, Dr. S. I appreciate you being here, and helps me to organize my thoughts and to get PowerPoints together, which I will share with you after this. We're working on emotional intelligence and positive mental health. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and here we go. So let's start at the beginning, shall we? Excuse me a second. It'd be better if we started at the beginning. Here we go. So we're talking about processing emotions. A part of positive mental health is, what do we do with our emotions? How do we process them through? With the positive mental health, we're talking about being able to deal with our negative emotions so that we can create more positive emotions. Now, sometimes I've been getting in trouble because people say emotions are not positive or negative, or they're all good, they're all useful, they're all information that we get from our body. And I agree. I'm not saying they're bad, good or bad. I'm just saying that they don't feel good. Some of them don't feel good, and I call them negatives because some of them we don't really want and to be feeling all day, every day. And so we try to remove them and move them out of our system, and so that we can have more positives. The negatives, the big three negatives, I call them, are fear, anger, and sadness. If we can deal with our fear, our anger, and our sadness, just those three, then we can deal with almost anything that life can throw at us, it turns out. So we can, if we understand ourselves and our negative emotions, then we can process those through what we call processing emotions, and move them out of our body, learn from them, understand them, not reject them, but actually understand and learn from ourselves and what happens inside of us, so that we can then release them and go back to positives, which is our kind of natural state that we're born in. Positive emotions being joy, peace, and love, the big three, I call them. So if we can deal with our negatives, we can have more positives, bottom line. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with them. I'm just saying they don't feel very good, and so we don't like them. A lot of people don't, most people don't like them. And so I'm calling them negatives, but they're not, it's not that they're bad, it's just that they're don't feel good. So anyway, I'm defending myself because people keep saying you can't call them negative. I go, yeah, I can actually, because they don't feel good. And so we can differentiate between stuff that we want to feel and stuff we don't want to feel. So that's why I call them that. So learn about emotional intelligence and positive mental health. Emotional intelligence is the understanding and the information about how our emotions work, the science of emotions, how they work in our body, what they are, the different steps around them, that sort of thing. So it's the IEQ is emotional intelligence. It's knowing about our emotions. Positive mental health, on the other hand, is about what do I do with it? So EQ is how does it work? Positive mental health is how to work it. So it's strategies and actions and competencies of being able to deal with our emotions, right? Not just understanding them, but actually dealing with them. So it's more action oriented. Emotional intelligence is more left brain and right brain emotion oriented, where we understand them, but positive mental health is more action oriented of what do I do with them. I hope that makes sense. So we're gonna talk more in depth today about how to explore and deal with and heal, meaning release our negative emotions from our past, especially, and understand how to create conscious positives. I call them conscious positives in the present and for our future. So it's about, if we can deal with our negatives, we can have more positives, bottom line. So let's talk about that. The point of this whole thing is we're trying to do world peace, our nonprofit that I run, and we're trying to change the world. We're trying to create peace in the world, and that starts with inner peace. And inner peace starts with emotional intelligence and positive mental health, and being able to deal with ourselves. We can create some peace. The concept is that if enough of us can understand how to be peaceful, at least inside of ourselves, and then around us, maybe if enough of us know how to create peace, maybe we can have big peace in the world. The Dalai Lama says through inner peace, genuine world peace can be achieved. It must be first created within ourselves, then gradually expanded to include our families, our communities, and the whole planet. So the idea is to get peace. If we have a bunch of negative emotions inside of us, we're not going to be feeling very peaceful, are we? We're going to be upset, and we're going to be maybe taking out on other people and be agitated and be uncomfortable and that sort of thing. And that's not toward peace. That's the opposite, whatever you want to call that. It's not peaceful. And so what we're trying to do is deal with the not peaceful part, so that we can have some peace inside of ourselves and create it within our relationships and around us as well. So, but we're talking today about strictly us. This isn't about relationships and society, etc. This is just about dealing with our guts, our insides, our emotions, our thoughts and our emotions. So again, positive mental health is about dealing with the negatives so that we can go back to our natural state, which is pretty positive, right? Yesterday I got to hang out with my granddaughters. I have a 1-year-old, actually 2. She turned 2 today. Today's her birthday. She's 2. And 4. So I got a 2 and 4-year-old granddaughters, and I watch them and study them kind of just for fun. And it's true, they're our natural state, and I've been watching them since they were little, or since they were born. I was there on both of them, and they come out pretty calm and peaceful and loving. That's our natural state. When something goes wrong and they're uncomfortable, they need a diaper change, they're hungry, something hurts on them. One of them just broke their arm, which was amazing, and she handled it beautifully. Then their negative emotions come up, and when their negative emotions come up, and then they get their situation handled, they go back to their natural state, which is positive, which is calm and peaceful and loving and happy. That's their natural state. That's all of our, in my opinion, that's all of our natural state. And so what we need to do is be able to deal with our negatives so that we can get back to the natural state, which is positives. And you notice on this little chart, we got a little smiley face going on, because we go down into the negatives and come back up again. We're not saying to ignore the negatives. We're not saying to deny them or lie to ourselves about them or quickly get out of them. Do something as quick as you can to get out of them. We're talking about dealing with them, learning about them, learning about ourselves, and being able to process those so that they are released from our body, and then we go back to our natural state, which is above the line, which is positive, which is turning the frown upside down. Another way to put it. So I have fun with what I'm doing here. So the first thing to this whole thing is emotional responsibility, I call it. Number one takeaway from all of this is emotional responsibility. And what that means is that your thoughts and your feelings and your actions are yours. It's ownership. It's knowing that no matter what happens outside of us, we have the power to control what happens inside of us. And that is a huge part of this whole thing. That's the number one lesson, the number one lesson. If you want to change your life, make sure that you are taking most role responsibility. This is my main point. We did a whole workshop on here on Wings of Life on just that subject of one thing. Ray Mathis that I was working with, he calls it internal locus of control, locus being LOCUS. That means that I'm in charge of me. I'm in charge of me, not them. It's not them. It's not the world. It's not the politics. It's not the country. It's not your parents. It's not your wife. It's not your kids. It's not them that is controlling you. You are. And that is the best news ever. That's the best news. That was a life changer for me. That's the best news ever, is that I am in charge of me. No matter what happens outside of us, we have the power to control what happens inside of us. And that is a wonderful, wonderful thing. That's a wonderful thing. You cannot always control what goes on outside. Lots of things we cannot control, but we can control what goes on inside of us. Control is kind of a weird word, actually. Just a little side note, because we don't necessarily control our emotions, and we don't necessarily control our thoughts, because a lot of them happen without our control, but we have the power to influence them. We can change them. We can affect them. We can modify them. We can adjust them. We can do all kinds of stuff to them. We can't necessarily control all of them, right? Because we have thoughts and feelings that they just come, right? They just come. But what we do with them, how we process them, which is the point of today, is up to us. What do we do with them? And so control is not always the best word there. Maybe I need to change that, but the bottom one is definitely true. We cannot control a lot of things outside of us, but we can influence, affect, do something with what goes on inside of us. So to be more specific. So there's 4 steps to learning. I like this concept because it kind of puts everything into perspective, is that, and this is about learning emotional intelligence, but it's about learning anything. First off, we don't know. We don't know. We don't know, and we don't know that we don't know. So that's the first, that's how we are born. A lot of stuff. There's so many things that we don't know, and we don't know that we don't know. Okay. So it's not really a step, but it's reality. That's what's happening. The first step actually toward knowing is finding out that we don't know. It's called consciously incompetent. We find out that we don't know. And that's a big thing. That's a big deal. And that's partly what we're doing here today, is that we're working on steps 2 and 3, because we're finding out some things that you don't know. And step 3 is about finding out how to know. Okay. I don't know that. I'm finding out how to do that. So congrats to you for being in watching this workshop and being in a what we call learning mode, or at least learning about yourself and being open to learning new experiences. That's being consciously competent, finding out how to know, how to be better, how to succeed, how to understand, how to learn more, right? You've got a growth mindset versus a fixed mindset, which is a very important part of positive mental health, is our mindset. And we're saying we don't know everything. We can learn more about ourselves. We can be more open and understand, and be open, I guess, to new experiences and new information. And that's if you're here learning today, cool. That's where you're at, right? And you're finding out some new things. So we can find out by reading, by talking, by listening, by taking classes, by going to therapy, doing meditation inside of us. We can ask ourselves, we can do all kinds of things to find out how to know. But once we figure out that we don't know, Okay. And then eventually step 4 is unconsciously competent, which basically means that you don't have to think about it anymore. You've been consciously competent for a while. You get good at something, whatever the subject is, and you don't have to think about it much. It becomes part of your system, kind of a habit. And you don't have to think about it. You're just doing it correctly. And that's a cool step. I'm looking forward to being at that level in some areas of my life someday. But we'll see. We'll see. So anyway, we're finding out what we don't know, and we're finding out how to know. Steps 2 and 3. In emotional intelligence, we talk about the 3 steps that we have to be aware first. We have to be aware first of anything. We can't really do anything until we're aware. So like in going back to the last slide, step 2 is being aware that we don't know. Okay. All right, I'll find out some more information about that, like you're doing sitting here right now. So awareness is partly finding out what it is that's going on and what we don't know, being aware of what we don't know. So that's kind of weird. It's awareness of our unawareness, but it's true. And that helps. And accepting that is step 2, which is, okay, all right, I'm aware now, and I can understand that, for example, being aware of your thoughts and your feelings. Okay, I'm having a thought, I'm having a feeling. Okay, acceptance is okay. All right, I don't have to fight it. I don't have to deny it. I don't have to lie to myself about it. I don't have to create all this drama about it. I just can accept it and accept that it's happening and that it's real. And just accept it. It seems like it's a not necessary step, but it's huge because so many people do not accept what's going on inside, and that is not helpful. That's not helpful. And the other part of acceptance is, as I said, emotional responsibility, accepting that it's you, that it's yours, that you own yourself. You own your thoughts and feelings, and nobody else does. Nobody can make you angry. Nobody ever makes you angry, has ever made you angry. No one hurts your feelings. They don't. They just do what they do. You then take that and your perspective on it and your thoughts about it make you mad or make you sad or make you happy or make you unhappy. Our thoughts about that do that. That's emotional responsibility, accepting that they didn't do it to you. They didn't hurt your feelings. They just did what they did or said what they said, or they left or they came or whatever they did. Now, how I took that and how my perspective on that, that's what started it. My thoughts on what happening is what made me feel what I feel, and I can adjust those. I can do stuff with those because they're mine. But first, you got to figure out that they're mine, not them. It's not a blaming, whiner, victim thing. It's no, I did that. I'm doing that, and I'm in control, and I can do stuff with it. So accepting emotional responsibility is a huge part of this. And then once I'm aware and I can accept, then I can do something about it. I can do some action or not. And I can do some action or not. And we're going to talk about some possible actions here in a minute. So awareness, acceptance, action, big deal. Or no action. Taking no action is sometimes, especially with strong emotions, good idea. Keep your mouth shut. So take no action. I'm going to come back to this one in a minute. All right, let's do a quick quiz here. All right, if you're up for it, we're going to do a little self-assessment of the 7 steps to dealing with our feelings. Okay, if you're up for it, put your answers. They're going to be 1 through 5. You're just rating yourself. It's not a competition or anything like that. It's just checking out your own insides, and put it in the chat if you're up for it, or just write them down and keep tracks, because there's numbers, and then we'll add them up at the end. So there's 7 questions. Rate them 1 through 5. 1 is nope, and 5 is yep. So 1 is not at all, and 5 is definitely. And then somewhere in between is 2, 3, and 4. So just rate yourself 1 through 5. Okay, this is helpful. This quiz is about how to process through our emotions, which is what we're talking about today. And they're kind of at a high level, and then I'll drill down a little bit afterward. But let's take this quick quiz if we can first. Okay, like I said, awareness first. We've got to be aware first. So when your body feels something like fear, anger, sadness, shame, guilt, etc., how well do you notice and become aware of your feelings? So 1 through 5, one is I have no idea what's going on. 5 is I'm super aware all the time. I've got it, and I'm aware of myself. So give yourself a rating if you want to. Like I said, put it in the chat, and otherwise just keep score. Okay, so 1 through 5, how aware are you of yourself and your emotions? Okay. Nobody's in the chat. All right, that's all right. 2, acceptance. Is it okay with you when you feel something? How well do you accept your feelings versus judging and denying them? So how aware are you in acceptance? Oh, we got one. All right. Hey, thanks, Dr. S. Thanks. You guys jump in there if you want. How well do you accept your own self, your own emotions, your own thoughts, and what's going on inside of you? How well do you accept yourself, or do you, that sort of thing? So give yourself a 1 through 5 on that one. All right. Third is identification. So when you do have a feeling, can you identify what you're feeling? Do you have an idea? What do you call it? How well can you separate and name your feelings correctly? For example, a lot of people get, especially guys, get fear and anger mixed up, and they go, well, no, I'm just angry about this one. In reality, it's fear. So how well can you identify your feelings? How well can you identify your own feelings? 1 through 5. Okay. All right. So we got awareness first, then acceptance, and then identification, right? So fourth is, once you identify, do you need to express it? Do you need to express it? How well do you express yourself and your feelings? And let them out of your body as opposed to stuffing them down inside? How well do you express yourself? And this is a challenge, because expressing yourself is, can be interesting. It can cause closeness, and it can cause a lot of pain. It depends on how you express yourself. But the question is, how well do you express yourself in general and your emotions? All right. Then next is release. Once you do express yourself, do you let them go, or do you keep hanging on to them? A lot of people are angry, and they express their angry, and then they express their angry, and then they express their angry, and they keep being angry, and they're just angry. Then they never actually let go of it and stop being angry for a little while. They just keep on being angry. And so this is about, once you feel a negative feeling, can you then let it go and let it come out of your body, or do you hang on to it? You hang on to stuff for a long time. Release. Okay. Next is replace. This is an interesting one. A lot of people have never thought of that. Is that, or think of this, is that once you do have your expression and you let some yucky, negative stuff out of your body, you can actually fill back up with positives on purpose. We call them conscious positives. We can fill back up on purpose. How are you at replacing your negative feelings with positives? All right. So this is a little bit tricky sometimes. It's really important that we know that we can do that. And it's very helpful to know that if that our negative feelings actually take up some room in our body, and that we can let them go and replace them and fill ourselves up with positives. That's a positive mental health skill, and it's very important to be able to do that. So good. How's replace? And then last is, ta-da, I did good. How well do you encourage and respect your true feelings, complimenting yourself on your awareness, expression, and release? So it's just basically saying, hey, all right, way to go. I pat myself on the back. I'm doing pretty good. Well done. That sort of thing. Keep going. Sorry, that was hard, but you can do it. That kind of stuff. This is you talking to you, forgiving yourself, releasing stuff, and knowing that you're on the right path and that you're doing good. So rejoice is the last one. So here's a summary of them. Awareness first, got to be aware. accept. You don't got to accept, but I highly recommend that you get good at accepting what's going on inside of you. Then identification. All right. What is that that's going on inside of me? All right. And then expression is sharing it with other people. Release, letting it go out of your body, replacing it, filling yourself back up with them with positive emotions, and then rejoice. Ta-da! I did good. So, okay, Jacob, we got a 14. All right, that's thanks for sharing that. And here comes the scores. So 14, a little low, and you got some work to do there. I'm not laughing at you. I'm just saying that you got some work to do. There's higher is better in these scores if you can know yourself and deal with yourself well and process through your emotions, which we'll talk more about in a minute. Then it's very helpful. We find it very helpful. So if you're really good at emotions, figure out how you did that. How did you do that? Chances are you taught yourself. One of our main things in our nonprofit is we're trying to get emotional education into schools everywhere. It's just wrong that kids don't learn this stuff in school, that we didn't learn this stuff. Most of you, probably Jacob, you didn't learn this stuff in school. You probably didn't have any good role models, maybe. And so you got to figure it out on your own. And some people never figure it out. They never do figure it out. We call it the school of hard knocks, meaning you're like, bam, bam, and you learn from, that was awful. Oh, that hurt. Oh, that didn't work. Right. And that's a terrible way to learn. I mean, it can be effective, but it's a very painful way to learn, as opposed to someone explaining it to you. You're like, oh, okay, okay, that makes sense, right? Or helping you with your emotions. So most times we don't have any role models. We don't learn about it in school. Our parents didn't talk to us about it. We don't talk about it to anybody. We better not deal with it at work. Right. So what are we supposed to do? Where are we supposed to learn this stuff? You got to figure it out on your own. So good luck with that. So that's not cool. That's not cool. That's what we're trying to change that. We're trying to get emotional education into schools. That's half our darn brain we don't know anything about. And that's just wrong. And it's not helpful. And it's dangerous. It turns out it's actually dangerous. Lack of emotional intelligence causes some things like violence and abuse and terrorism and suicides, one of the biggest ones that's skyrocketing everywhere, and mental health issues, and turns out physical health, even physical health. If you don't deal with your emotion, your physical health is in trouble. You're in trouble. And war, etc., or a lot of that stuff is all based on people not knowing how to deal with their emotions. So it's dangerous to not know how to deal with them. And in the United States, people go and shoot each other when you're upset about something, and they shoot a bunch of people if you're upset about something, or they shoot themselves. And that's what, come on. Come on. It's all avoidable if we can have some education. It's just absurd that we are not taught this in school. We're starting to in India. We're starting to in Europe. We're starting to in the United States. It's becoming a law in a bunch of states now. It's a law that we have mental health education in schools, in public schools, and that's wonderful. But it's slow, so it's happening. It's starting to happen, and it's kind of fun being on this curve where it's skyrocketing now. But we got a long way to go, man. We have a long way to go. And so anyway, let's keep going. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for going through that. It's helpful to know what's going on. Yeah, Jacob said I have emotional mood swings and pretty low emotional well-being at many times. Yeah, that's one of the results of not knowing how to process your emotion. So good. So you're in the right place right now, because we're going to talk about now about how to deal with some of that stuff. So hang in here. Okay. So here's how some of it works. Here's how it works. Stuff happens, right? I remember I said earlier that no matter what happens outside of you, you get to choose what happens inside of you. You get to control, choose, manage, do something with it, right? Whatever the word is, but you're in charge of what goes on inside of you. So we call it event, meaning, feeling, behavior. It's kind of a process, right? Event means something happened outside of you. something happen. If you get out of bed, if you get out of bed in the morning, stuff's going to happen. Even if you don't get out of bed in the morning, stuff's going to happen. So these events are outside of you and they just happen. Stuff happens, right? Then it goes inside. Now we put a meaning on that. What does that mean? What, if right now I'm looking out the window and there's trees and there's plants, what does that mean about me? Not much. It doesn't affect me very much. But if somebody was walking by and walking away from me outside right there, like, wait a minute, now I'm being rejected and I'm not lovable and stuff like that. What does that mean? That means I'm going to be alone. That means it hurts my feelings, that kind of stuff. Then it means something. So I'm taking what happens outside and I have thoughts and feelings about what's happening. Now it's inside. Now it's inside and now it's my problem. Now I got to deal with it because it's mine. So events happen all day, every day. All kinds of events happen, but some of them mean something to us and some of them don't. If they mean something to us, then we have thoughts and feelings about them, and we then now they're inside. So now we got to deal with them. So we're going to talk about that. When we decide what it means about us, then that brings up feelings. Is that good thing that means that's happening, or is it a bad thing that's happening? We're going to have feelings about that. And then based on our thoughts, meanings, and feelings, we're going to behave. We're going to decide what to do about that. Do I go run after this person? Do I sit and cry? Do I shoot myself? What do I do with those thoughts and feelings? And so now they're the results of of our meanings and our feelings, all based on events. The events are outside. They're facts. They're stuff that happen. And then the rest of it is up to us. It's up to us inside. So I'll go into more detail here in a minute. So we need to deal with both sides of our brain. Okay, so what happened is this event, meaning, feeling, behavior is a huge concept where we're taking it outside and then we need to process it through our insides, right? And that's what we're talking about. And I've been teaching this for a long time, but what I've been asked lately is to get more specific on how to do the meaning and feeling part, more specific. So that's what we're drilling down into that. So the meanings and feelings are both sides of our brain. Okay, here's what our brain looks like. Here's what our brain looks like, right? You got two sides to our brain. Everybody knows that. That's what that's an actual brain with a spinal cord right here. This is the actual one. And they're both sides, right? The way that it works inside of our brain is the left side, the left hemisphere, is more of the logic side, the intellectual side, our reasoning, our science, our sequential processing side. That's just how it works, right? On the right side, however, and the left side, that's where we focus mostly, is on most of our education and most of our society is based on the left brain. The right brain, on the other hand, is our emotions, our passion, our senses, our creativity, etc., is on the right side. We don't learn much about that. We don't take classes in that in school. We don't talk about it much at home. We talk about what logical, what makes sense, what can you do, what can you learn, knowledge, information in order to get a job and be successful in your life, right? That's what we do in school. That's what our education systems are based on, being able to work and be a productive member of society. However, they don't talk much about how to get along with people, how to deal with yourself, how do you deal with your insides and all the stuff that's going on, all our emotions and such. We don't talk about all that. And so we're pretty good at our left brain and we're not very good at our right brain. And what we're finding is that, going back to this event, meaning, feeling, the meaning is our left brain. It's our logic. It's our, what does that mean about me? That's a thought. And how does that feel is our feeling. So we have to deal with our left brain and our right brain, and that's where we can make some huge changes. If you're more aware and accept your feelings and emotions, then you can deal with those. You can do stuff with them, not just logic, but also our emotions. So what we're trying to do, objective here, I don't have a slide on it, but the objective here is to balance, We're not saying that our left brain is more important than our right brain, and we're not saying our right brain is more important than our left brain. It's a balance thing. And what that looks like in reality is does this make sense when I'm making a decision, when I'm being processing what's going on around me? What does this make sense? Does it logically, right? Does this make sense? And does it feel right? Does it feel good? It's our intuition and our gut feeling and our emotions. Does it feel good? If I can making the decisions and I go, yeah, that makes sense, and it feels right, then it's probably a good behavior to do. It's probably a good decision. So, but it's about balancing the two. When they get out of balance, sometimes things make really good sense, but they feel awful. That's not going to go very well. Some things like addictions, for example, they feel really good. Sometimes some of the stuff that we get addicted to feels really good, but it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't. What are you doing? Why are you doing that to yourself and your body? Don't do that, right? It doesn't make any sense, but it feels really good. That's out of balance. We want to balance the two. It needs to make sense and feel good. So we're trying to process both sides of our brain, both sides, that whole brain living, I call it. So let's talk about the expression part, how to process our emotions. A lot of times we have trauma in our lives, and trauma, a lot of people assume that trauma, this is the event, by the way, we're back to the event. A traumatic event can be anything that has a strong emotional response, that is overwhelming of our ability to cope. I looked it up this morning. It's an event that overwhelms our ability to cope, which means it rocked our world. It was like, whoa. And it can be something awful, a big accident or violence against you, or abuse, or, it can be all kinds of really dramatic, traumatic experiences are called trauma. War or, a divorce or something like that can be traumatic to you. But reality is, it could be anything. It could be anything. You could drop your pencil in the hall and then somebody laughed at you or whatever, and you felt terrible, and you went home and decided you were a bad person, and all kinds of stuff. And all you did was drop your pencil right in the hallway, something like that. Somebody shared about, it was an ice skating accident, and all they did was fall down. They fell down, but then they were bullied and laughed at and called names and all kinds of stuff. So that ended up, the event wasn't very exciting, but it ended up changing her life. And so it doesn't matter what happens. It's not the details. Trauma can be anything that rocks your world, your big thoughts or big emotions, stuff that happened to you probably as a kid, and but sometime in the past, and it messes with your emotions, and it needs to be dealt with. I suggest you dealt with it. It doesn't have to be dealt with, but I highly suggest it. So it can be deeply distressing or disturbing experience or situation is trauma. And so that's the big events that we got to go through this process. A lot of times they end up being triggers. That means that anything sort of kind of like that, you drop something, and because that was a traumatic experience when you were little, then every time you're really careful about not dropping things, or you do drop something and you immediately go back into your childhood, and those same thoughts and feelings come up, and you end up, it doesn't go well. And those are called triggers. So trauma can be most anything. It depends on what meaning we put on it. This is a really, really bad thing. That's what it means to us. Then that's what we end up having to deal with. When we have strong feelings, we look at the thoughts behind the feelings. Meaning, when I notice myself feeling really sad, or I'm feeling really angry all of a sudden, I just got fired up. Somebody said something and I got all fired up about it. And you go, whoa, where's this coming from? Chances are it's something from your past, And chances are it's some thoughts that you had that push it at the feelings. So if you can find out what thoughts are behind your feelings, they make you make more sense to you. They make you make more sense to you, and you can understand that whatever I thought, how I perceived this situation, like I said, the example about somebody's walking away. Okay, I thought that means I'm going to be alone. That means I'm no good. That means that I'm unlovable. That they're leaving me. Those are all thoughts, and therefore I'm feeling sad, angry, scared, that kind of thing, depressed because of those thoughts. If I were to change those thoughts and go, oh, that person's just walking away, it doesn't mean necessarily anything about me, or they'll be back, or whatever. If I have a cool thought about it, then I'm going to have a better feeling about it. So, and the cool part is that we can change our thoughts. We can change our thoughts. If we have a thought like, oh, this is good, this is huge meaning here, I can go, whoa, to myself, hang on a minute. You don't necessarily know that. You just made that up, and you're now ruminating about it, and you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? What's it going to be like? How am I going to handle it? How am I going to survive? Those are ruminating thoughts, as opposed to, well, I'll manage, or I will, I'm going to trust myself to deal with this situation, whatever comes up. Some other things like that. You can adjust your thoughts. You can have a negative thought, notice you're having a negative thought, and replace it, or you're not actually replacing it. That's not the right word either. That's kind of like control. You already had the thought, so it's in the past. So you're not replacing it, but you're superseding it. You're adjusting it to a better thought. You say, I don't like that thought. I don't agree with that thought that I'm having. This is all inside of you. And so I'm going to have a better thought. So you can have you can change it. You can adjust it. You can, gosh, I guess I'm not finding the right word, but that's a really important word. I'll have to think more about that. I guess replacing it is a better, overlaying. I don't like that thought. So I'm going to put a different thought on top of it. And I'm going to go with that thought. I'm going to go with that thought, and I'm going to ignore this thought. And then therefore you're going to have better feelings and probably have better behaviors. Anyway, I'm sorry, but I got to work on that word, whatever that word is. When you have a thought and you have a different thought, overlaying it or something like that. Maybe you guys can help me with the word. There's a word there that I'm looking for. Swap. Yeah, swap. Yeah, that's a good one, Jacob. Thanks. Something like that. You push that one away, and you don't want that one. I want this one. I choose this one. Going shopping for a better thought, and you go, yeah, that's the one I want to buy, and that's the one I want to work with. So something like that. That's good. Swap's pretty good. Anyway, you get the idea, I hope. I don't know that I'm being very clear, but it's pretty important that we be able to know that we can do that in the first place. That emotional responsibility thing, and internal locus of control, is that nobody put those thoughts in there. We did that. And if we don't like them, we can change them. That's more, that's partly a responsibility thing, but that's a power thing. That's a capability and ability thing, is that we can change them. I don't think a lot of people know that, especially kids, that they can have a thought and a feeling and go, that's not the one I'm going to deal with. And it's not stuck then in me. It's not permanent. Man, I'm having trouble with the thoughts today, or with the wording that, but it's not something that I'm stuck with. I can change it. And I can change it. And that is a big deal. That to me was one of the life changer for me, for real, is that I realized that I didn't have to be a victim of what's happening outside of me and all these thoughts and feelings that were going on inside of me. I can actually adjust them. I can move them around. I can do something with them, and I am in control of me. I'm in control of me. That's a beautiful thought. That is a beautiful thought that I am going to swap and that I am going to stick with. I am in charge of me, and I can manage my own inner world, and that feels very good. I like it. I like it very much, very much. So. Feelings, we're talking about our meanings, which is our left brain thoughts, and our feelings, which are our right brain emotional intelligence. We can identify them. We can find our emotions in our body. That's something that most people don't realize, is that our emotions actually stay in our body somewhere. And if you look, you close your eyes for a minute. I shut your mouth, shut your eyes, and go inside and find what's going on inside of you. And you can find them. They're in your body. They're in your body, and you can find them. And some people keep stuff in their neck, or they got stuff in their belly, or you got stuff in your lower back, and sometimes in your hands, especially anger. A lot of times will be in your hands because you're just like, right? And you can find this stuff in our body, and it's in there, and it's taking up space. You can't see it, so it's kind of weird, but it's in there. And then you can adjust it, and you can release it. You can replace it, like we were talking about earlier. So you can release stuff that's in our body, but first we got to find it, and then change it and replace it and fill up with more positives. We can also have pictures a lot of times, and when something traumatic happens, for example, in our childhood, and we have this picture gets made, like, oh yeah, I remember when that but you, before that you react to that, there was a picture that came into your right brain that showed you what happened, that you remember, and that's what causes the trigger. Your body recalls this information, and you then react to the picture because it has strong meaning, and it has strong feelings about it, and you're reacting to that. The reality is, which is pretty cool, my mentor is Dr. Doc Downing, Myron Doc Downing, and he works a lot on replacing the picture. That's pretty wild, that you can have an actual memory of a picture, something actually happened, and it's in your brain, in your right side of your brain, and it gets stuck there. You take a snapshot of it and you keep it there because it was a huge event, and you want to remember. You don't want to remember, but you do, kind of thing. It gets stuck in there, and he says that you can change it. You can change a picture. That's pretty wild, that you can actually change the picture in your brain, and you can start looking at it, and you can adjust it, and that your body does not know the difference between real and imagined. For example, when you're watching a movie, right, and the event that you're watching is not real, it's imagined, right, but you're looking at it, and you have thoughts and feelings about that. That's kind of the basis of entertainment, is that it messes with your feelings in all different ways. Some people like scary stuff. Some people like war and adventure and excitement. Some people like love and kindness and gentleness and stuff like that. It's up to you, but it's eliciting an emotion on something that is not real. And you can actually have traumatic memories based on a movie, right? Because that's a picture that was put in there, but it didn't actually happen. So you can tell your brain, you can make your own picture, you can change the picture, and you can adjust it and to something that feels better for you, that you do want to carry around with you. It's pretty wild. So anyway, you can change what's going on inside of us a lot more than we think we thought we could, which is really exciting and powerful and wonderful and good to know, and makes me feel hopeful, and that we can help people adjust themselves. They're not stuck necessarily in what happened to you. You're not stuck there. We can then release stuff. We can release things that are not good, that we are holding on to. We can let go of stuff. One of the things is, why are you holding on to it? What you can ask yourself, why? What's the purpose? Doctor says he doesn't like the word why, because why brings up defensiveness. Why are you doing that? Right? It makes you defensive. He says, what's the purpose in you doing that? Which could be good or bad, right? So a lot of times we will hold on to our trauma for the purpose of reminding ourselves that life is scary, or that we got to be aware or pay attention, or we got to protect ourselves, that kind of stuff. And so we consciously or unconsciously hang on to things that we don't even want to hang on to, as a memory or as a reminder. And so checking it, you can check out why you're holding on to something that if you had some trauma in your life or something really bad happened, why are you holding on to that? All right. And check that out. Letting it go is a big deal. Do you need it anymore? Do you need that reminder? Is there other ways that you can get the same good information without hanging on to this particular traumatic experience? And forgiving yourself. I'm sorry, just letting go of the feeling that you've been hurting yourself basically for a long time. You may have done something wrong that created the trauma in the first place, or you feel like it was wrong, and being able to forgive yourself is about, and forgiving others is about releasing the pain between you and them. So that's another thing that we can do with ourselves. So release. Oh, I just talked about this. Why are you holding on to stuff? Letting it go and forgiving. So this event, meaning, feeling thing, Doc and I came up with this worksheet. It's very helpful. We're finding this can be a life changer for real if you take it for real, if you take it seriously. Look at what happened to you. This is a fact. The event is a fact over here on the first column. The second column is, what did you decide about life as a result of that fact, right? The person left me, okay? Well, means I am unlovable, or I am no good, or I am less than, or I am attractive, or whatever it is. They're big decisions that we made about life as a result of our pain. Life is, the world is, men are, women are, big stuff like that. And a lot of times these are unconscious. A lot of times they were done in our childhood, and we made these big decisions, and we continue to live on these consciously or unconsciously, and it affects everything. These are called belief systems or meanings. What did that mean about you? What did it mean about life, and how you fit in or didn't fit in, that kind of thing. So they're big generalized belief systems, usually unconscious. So this worksheet is about making it conscious, becoming consciously incompetent or consciously competent, and finding out how to consciously understand yourself and what's going on for you. Depending on what the meaning is, you're then going to have a feeling, right? And a bunch of feelings probably. And then your behaviors are based on what you think and feel. So the top part of this worksheet is about what happened. What did you decide about that? And how did that make you feel? And what behaviors did you do on those? This bottom half is then, okay, what do you want to believe? What would you like to believe? If you don't want to believe that you're unlovable and unattractive and nobody wants to be around you, then you can adjust it. You can think something different. You can adjust it. And that's what I was talking about, that you get to change the meanings, and you get to change, and you're probably going to feel better, right? If you change that meaning, and you're probably going to react better. So here's an example. This is me. This is me. What happened? We moved a lot, and that just happened. That was reality. My dad was in the United States Air Force, and we moved a lot, and that just did. Well, to me, so people kept leaving me. So I didn't have my friends and family, but mostly my friends kept leaving me, or I was leaving them. So I was breaking off these relationships over and over and over again. And I thought that meant there was something about me, that's something wrong with me. How come people kept leaving me? That I felt unwanted and unlovable. And I did. I'm getting kind of teary just talking about this still, because it was a big deal to me. That's what I decided as a kid. I didn't know what was going on. And so that's what I decided. Painful, scary, I can't count on people, all kinds of yucky stuff that I decided. And that made me feel hurt and afraid and angry and sad and all that stuff, because I thought something was wrong with me. I was quite sure something was wrong with me, actually. And so I did some pretty yucky behaviors based on that. What I'd rather believe, however, and I've been working on this for a long time, is that yes, we still moved. That is a fact, right? That's a history, and that's a fact, and that's true. But They were maybe maybe they just were leaving because they were leaving because they had to, because they were in the military too, and they didn't have any choice. And maybe it didn't have anything to do with me, or very little to do with me. They were just leaving. So maybe we'll see. I'm okay. Maybe I can be lovable. Maybe we'll see, right? I've been working on this for a while. Maybe life could just be interesting, and that the world could be a safe place, as opposed to this scary thing where people keep getting yanked out of my life. Maybe, right? And maybe I can have some different meanings. I can swap them, as Jacob put it. I could swap my old meanings for my new meanings. And guess what? I'm going to feel better, feel safe and powerful and connected, and I can do better behaviors. So this silly little worksheet, one page, can change your life if you do it right, if you do it well. And so, I'll give you the PowerPoint afterward. You can fill out this form for yourself. I'm teaching classes on positive mental health, and I have them do at least 3 as homework. I do 3 different events that happened to you, and work through what did you decide about life as a result of your pain? What did you feel from that? And what behaviors have you been doing? What do you want to do? And then what do you want to, you do the bottom half. What do you want to change it to? And you can change all kind of stuff inside of you. It's pretty cool. So change your mind, modify your beliefs, release your negative feelings, take conscious actions, and forgive, release, and go on. Get on with it. So bottom line is accepting emotional responsibility. Like I said, that's biggest takeaway from this whole thing. If you don't get anything else out of this, know that you are in charge of you. You can change things inside of you. We can't necessarily change things that are going on outside. Some things we can affect them or we can change them, but a whole bunch of things we can't change. Only we can change is ourselves, and that's pretty cool. That's cool. We have a lot of power there to control things. So we're gonna have thoughts and feelings all day, every day, 24/7, all day, every day. We're gonna be thinking and feeling. We can't not think and we can't not feel. So let's get good at both of those and take responsibility and ownership for both of those, because they're ours. Deal with both sides. It's not only we got both sides of our brain. It's not just our logic. We have thoughts about what's going on, and we have feelings. A lot of people, that's the part that people deny and don't know about and don't want to deal with, is that we have feelings. We actually feel fear and sadness and anger and depression. We do. And it's okay. It's okay that we feel that stuff. It just, and knowing especially that we can do something about them if we don't want to feel those things, but they're not bad. They're information. They're interesting. They're part of us. And we can actually learn to, I've gotten to parts where I can enjoy feeling sad for a minute. I mean, just a couple weeks ago, my mom passed away. Speaking of sad, my mom passed away just a couple weeks ago. What's today? Yeah, it was like 2 weeks ago, and I was sad. I'm still sad about it. It's weird not having a mom. I'm 63 years old, and now all of a sudden I don't have a mom. That's kind of, I've always had a mom, and I like having a mom, and I was sad about that, and that's okay with me. I don't fight it anymore. I was just like, okay, all right, that's a sad thing, and that's me. That's part of me. If I can accept that my feelings are me, then I go, that's kind of cool. She was important to me. So, and now she's gone, and I have that loss, and that's a sad thing, and that's okay. That's part of me. I loved her a lot, and that's who I am, and I'm okay with that. And it's pretty cool. It's actually pretty cool. I've been watching myself. My wife brought up, we went to funeral or whatever, celebration of life is what my dad called it, which was pretty cool. It was very cool, but nobody cried in my whole family except for me, and I'm okay with that. I kind of feel sorry for them, but I'm happy that I can be in touch with my feelings and allow myself to feel what I feel, because I take that as that's a cool part of me, and I've been working hard. It's not an accident. I've been working hard to allow that kind of stuff and to be okay with it. And I'm fine with crying. It's okay with me. I am fine with it, and I like it. I like me, that part of me that loves that much. So The last one is just please, if you know about this, like you said, like we said earlier, most people don't get this information. They don't know anything about emotions and such like that. And please share with them, somebody, share with anybody, teach somebody what you know about emotions, because they're on step one, which is unconsciously incompetent. Most people don't know that they don't know about emotions, and they don't, and when they find out, they don't want to know. But anyway, that's a different problem. But they don't know that they don't know. So that's why I'm here early in the morning talking about, emotional stuff and going, hey, this is really important, you guys. So with great power comes great responsibility. Remember what movie that's from? Anybody? But it's pretty cool that knowing that if we know stuff, then it's our responsibility, in my opinion, to share it with other people, in my opinion. So all right, so emotional responsibility, biggest part of this whole thing. All right, so what else? I got any questions, concerns, complaints? How are we doing?
Yeah, thank you. It's a very wonderful class, particularly for emotional intelligence as a whole. And the first area, really, there is emotional responsibility. There is something we have some control, and you're talking about the inner control, how it is possible. And there are 4 stages of EQ: UI, CI, CC, and UC. Unconscious incompetence, conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and unconscious competence. So we became the state, or generally we are in unconscious competence. That is what we needed. But definitely we are always in conscious competence. That is a problem. So there the emotion fails. And we have 3 important parts of EQ. AAA, there is awareness, acceptance, and action. And it's a very good test for EQ, how to find out our emotional intelligence quotient. So we have some steps for that, a good questionnaire for that also. And finally, we have connected with the left and right brain. Left is for IQ and right is for EQ. So we have definitely a combination between IQ and EQ, or left and right brain, for our well-being. So thank you very much. It's a wonderful class. Thank you. I think all secrets of emotional intelligence are revealed.
Oh, really? All of them. Okay. I wish that were true.
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's more, but that's okay. There's a lot to it. Actually, it's wild because this stuff is not very complicated, but there's a lot to it. There's so, I don't know that I have all the secrets revealed, but I appreciate the thought.
So this is the fine-tuned secrets, and thereafter we can expand. Really, that's fine. But once you want to know something about EQ, these are the very important basic steps. And that. And anybody have any questions, please? Anybody have? Mr. Jacob, sir, can you say something? Then Roy, sir, Anil Kumar, sir. Anybody have some questions about EQ? Is a wonderful. Yes, Jacob, sir, please.
Yeah, thank you, Matt, for that information session. It was really informative. I feel that basically, personally for me, there are 2 stages. One is that unconscious competence, where we don't know about the thoughts that are going behind our feelings. We do understand our feelings and emotions, but we are rarely aware about the thoughts that are behind it. And the struggling part that I do have personally is that though I know the thoughts or probably the feelings, I am unable to replace it with a different thought to create a different feeling. So I think
swap it.
Yeah, I think that would be an area that I need to work, how to change a thought or give more energy to a positive thought that can trigger a positive mental emotion. And another thing that I I realized when you were speaking was that I do overthink and ruminate about the past, about the negative feelings and emotions, and keep thinking about it. What are the reasons? What could be the reasons? And so I think I lose a lot of my time and energy thinking about such unproductive thoughts. So overall, it was a very informative session. Thank you so much for providing this. Thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you for sharing that, Jacob. I appreciate that. Yeah,
See,
that's
Matt,
great.
I have one doubt on this. We are discussing about the EMFB. There is emotion, event, meaning, feeling, and behavior, and that is coming to the right side of our brain. And what about left brain? Can you explain like this? It is EMTB. There is emotions, meaning, thoughts, then behavior. Can you think like that? For left brain, thoughts is more important, and for right brain, feeling is more important. So can you divide it that way?
Can you, what was the question? I'm sorry, at the end?
See, for the right brain, we have EMFB, that is emotion, even meaning and feeling, that behavior. And for left brain, why can't you make like this EMTB, that is emotion, meaning, thoughts, then behavior. For left brain, thoughts for left brain and feeling for right brain. Is it correct?
Yes, that is correct. That is correct. That's what that's how it is, and in our brains, that's where they are associated. What I'm saying is that most of us only deal with the left brain because that's what we were taught, and we got to do with the right brain also, which is our emotions. So, like Jacob was saying, you get to ruminating about something, you're thinking about it, about what happened. What I suggest is that what's missing when you're overthinking is under feeling. That means what you're missing is like, hey, I'm upset about this, or hey, I'm sad about this, or I'm angry about this, and let yourself be angry or be upset for a few minutes and let your body feel what it needs to feel. I call it feel it to heal it, and allowing your emotions to be and to be real and to be alive. You don't have to dump on anybody. You don't have to yell at anybody. Nobody needs to know what's going on, really, but you do. And if you can allow your feelings to exist and to take place, the way Doc puts it is negative feelings expressed as intensely as they are felt in the body will reduce in intensity and are free to change. That, to me, that's a beautiful, beautiful quote, because what he's saying is that if you will allow yourself to feel what you feel, even just for a minute, then your body is like, oh, thank you. Gosh, I needed to feel that. I needed to feel that just for a minute. If I don't, I go around and around and round and round and all these thoughts. But if I allow myself to feel it, even for a minute, then so much of the time it can dissipate and it can go away. And you're like, oh, geez, that's the problem. It's the feeling, right? If like when I was with my mom, or had the funeral for my mom, if I wouldn't have let myself cry, I'd probably still be, this sadness kind of underlies everything. It kind of gets stuck in my body. It gets stuck in there. And so I'm feeling it for days and weeks and months afterward. If I let myself cry for a minute, oh, okay, all right, and I can let it out of my body, and I'm like, okay, now I can go on. I can go back to being positive and wonderful and happy and loving, all that stuff. So feel it to heal it. Allow yourself to feel the right side of your brain as well, says I and Doc. Yeah, does that help? Is that your question? Nope.
Yes,
that's a right brain thing.
Thank you very much once again.
I have one more question. Just adding to that, could there be any reason like lack of minerals or vitamins that could be affecting your emotional intelligence?
Yeah, I don't, not one of my areas of expertise, but certainly it seems like it should be. If things are not situated correctly in your body, then it'd probably mess you up. So I don't know exactly, but I'm sure that's true. Definitely.
It is,
Yeah.
it is definitely true. Some of the minerals or vital elements are lacking, means definitely that will affect emotional problems.
Mm.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, you know a
Okay,
lot
thank
more
you,
about that than
thank
I
you,
do.
Mr. Matt. Thank you once again. So I feel next Saturday also we have some special things to view with, and thank you very much, Jacob sir. Also, thank you, BB ma'am. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thanks, Jacob.
And okay, thank you. See you next week. Tomorrow we are doing a music therapy. That's what our topic tomorrow. Music therapy.
Nice.
Yeah. That particularly dealing with Malayalam songs, Malayalam music songs, and capacity of healing. Okay, thank you once again, Matt and Jacob sir. Thank you once again, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. See.